Ladies, I hear your cry these days that men are not emotionally available in the relationships. But when I come forward and say you need to protect your man's ego, you say you don't have time to deal with men who are sissies, you don't have time to deal with men who are crybabies. A man will never open up to you until he knows that you're going to protect his ego. A man who is emotionally unavailable is a man who is protecting his ego from being exposed. So if you want a man to be emotionally available, you have a responsibility to protect his ego. That's how it goes. The same way, if a man wants to be in a relationship with you, he has to deal with your mood swings during your PMS. When a man wants a baby with you, he has a responsibility to protect you from your insecurities when your boobs get saggy, when you get stretch marks, when you get baby fat. Most of you ladies go to a point whereby you are even afraid or ashamed to undress in front of your man. A man has got to protect you from such if he wants a baby with you. The same way, if you want an emotionally available man, you need to protect his ego. So when a man sees that this woman protects my ego, a man will open up to you. You ladies want men to be emotionally available. You want men to open up. But every time after you break up with that man, what do? You expose him. You expose his weaknesses out there. You say he's got a small dick, he's broke and everything. What are you doing when you ladies come forward and say foreign brothers are better than us South African men? When you say we are broke, when you say we've got small dicks, you are coming after our egos. And for us not to get hurt from what you are saying towards us, what must we do? We need to shut down emotionally. We need to make sure that you do not get to us emotionally. We become emotionally unavailable. That's how we protect our egos. A man will never open up to you until he knows that you're going to protect his ego. That's how it goes. Ladies, you cannot have it both ways. If you want a strong man, you don't want a crybaby, you don't want a man who's going to get hurt, if you don't want a man who's going to get jealous, then you have to pick a man who is emotionally unavailable. But if you want a man who is emotionally available, a man who's going to invest emotionally into the relationship, you have to know that when a man does that, he is exposing his ego. You ladies know that a man has got an ego. And in most cases, when you want to hurt a man, you go after his ego. That's why you'll say, this man has got a small dick. That's why you say, you didn't even satisfy me in bed. That's why you'll say, you're so broke. It doesn't even need to be true. You're coming after a man's ego. A man has got one vulnerability, his ego. A woman has got one vulnerability, her insecurities. That's how it goes. In relationships, we have to look after each other's emotional well-beings. Okay? You cannot always come forward and say men are breaking up women. But then you don't want to come forward and talk about how must men look after women's emotional well-being. You can recognize that you are dealing with emotionally unavailable men. You want to recognize that you are dealing with broken men out there. But you don't want to talk about how they become broken. You don't want to talk about how they become emotionally unavailable. A man who is not emotionally available is a man who is protecting his ego. If you don't want to deal with a sissy or a crybaby, as you put it, ladies, then prepare to deal with a robot for a man. If you want an emotionally available man, you must know that you want a man who is vulnerable to being hurt, a man who can cry, a man who can get jealous, That's an emotionally available man. A man with an ego. A man with an ego, a man who gets jealous, a man who gets hurt, a man who can cry. That's an emotionally available man. But you call that man a crybaby, you call that man a sissy. But then when you deal with a man who's like a robot, who doesn't have emotions, who doesn't have an ego, who doesn't cry, who doesn't open up, you come back again and complain. In society, what do we say? A real man doesn't cry. A man must man up. When a man mans up, he's shutting down his emotions. He becomes a rock, he becomes a robot. You cannot have it both ways. Call men names, cry babies, uh, sissies, and all that. I'm just teaching the psychology of a man in a relationship. I'm just teaching relationship laws. The laws that I did not make, I only paid attention and studied. It is what it is. If you want to deal with a rock, that's a man who is emotionally unavailable. But if you want an emotionally available man, there's a man whom has got an ego, is jealous, can get hurt, can cry. And he needs you to protect him from things that he is exposed to when he opens up to you, when he becomes emotionally available to you. It's two men that you're going to deal with. Emotional available man with an ego, or an emotionally unavailable man without an ego, without emotions, without crying, without getting hurt, without getting jealous, and all that. It's your choice.